This is an instructional video to help you with your hard water lab and making a graph for it. The first thing I did is I typed in these columns, so fill your data in similarly to this. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to calculate the average for each one. So I'm going to type in equals average, parentheses, and I'm going to go and select this data here, and I'm just going to do that. So this right here is the average for that column. So once I've got that, I can just grab this and pull it across, and it'll calculate the average for all three. Now, since this has a whole bunch of decimals after it, I'm going to make that number less. So what I can do is I can click over here to the options, and I can change the number format if I'd like by going like this. That's 0. That's a whole number, or I can just add an extra number like that. So that's what I'm going to do. So now what I'm going to do is I want to graph these values for this information. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this. Then I'm going to hit Command or Control C, and now I'm going to come over here and hit Command and Control V. So I pasted that over here. Now I'm going to take this information and hit Command or Control C, and once again Command and Control V. Oops. When that happens, you're going to want to say paste special values only. So if that's and that's because there's a formula written in here. Now I'm going to highlight the information that I want to graph. I go up to the graphing icon and hit Insert Chart. When I've got all of this, I need to select the basic type of chart. I'm going to make a column chart with all of my information. So this is what I've got. Next thing I want to do is I need to change the axis titles here and here. So I'm going to go to Customize, and I've got a chart title. And this needs to be a sentence, so it'll start off with Figure 1, the amount of EDTA needed, and I'll let you finish the sentence. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to go to the horizontal axis over here, and I'm going to say what this is. And what this title is, you can just put water samples, and there's no unit there. And I can go to the next option, and I can say left vertical, and this title for the left vertical is over here, and this would be drops of EDTA needed. All right, once I've got that, that's pretty much it. If I want, I can do a couple other things. I can change the location. You can change the color if you want Sheldon water to be teal, if that's cool for you. And then you can change the color of the Wilton water. And this is well water, so I don't know what color looks like a well to you, but maybe a dark blue. And then we've got home water, and you can pick whatever color you want that to be. And home is where the heart is, so I guess I'll go with pink. That's actually not very nice. Whatever. All right, so that's that. And that's pretty much what we have. The legend is right over here, and I want the legend to be actually underneath here. So I'm going to say legend on the bottom. Okay, if you hit legend inside, you'll see what happens. It does that, but I don't want that. I want it on the bottom. All right, so that's my first graph, and now I'll just hit insert, and I've got a graph, and there it is. Now to make this graph nicer, or to modify it, you can hit move and resize and make this, you can stretch it that way, or click in this box here. And you can do different things. You can change the background color of this if you want it to look all whatever. Lots of options. Now, what I need to do is I need to get this into my other document. So the document that I'm making to turn in. So what I would do is copy, go down here and hit copy chart. And then when I go into my other Google Doc, I can just hit paste. So that's the first type of graph that you're going to need to do. Okay. Now, the second graph that we're going to be doing is relative hardness. This is like how hard your Wilton and home water is compared to the standard, which everyone in here has the same standard, which is Sheldon. So let's just say Wilton water was 1.4 times harder than the Sheldon water. So this is really relative hardness compared to Sheldon water. So on this one, so this is the group data. So you're going to get this from your partners. So what everyone will do is they'll put theirs in there, and we'll say this is one. Whoops. So 1.1. Oops, 11.1. I didn't mean 2.1. And we're just going to go down. And I'm just going to pretend like I did this for each group. And what you can do is you'll see I typed in group 1 and group 2, and I can just highlight that. And when I move the arrow to the corner, this little plus appears, and I can just drag down. Okay, and I've got group 1, 2, and 3. That's oops, looks like I made a mistake, so I'm going to hit Command Z. And the reason it's not working is because I have a space here. So I'm going to highlight this and pull down, and there should be 8 groups. And we'll do the home water too, just so that you can get an idea. And 1.2. I'm just making these numbers up. I don't even know if that's the answer. And we'll just throw in a 1.8. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to graph each group's data for Wilton and home water versus the relative hardness of Sheldon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this data, and I'm going to click over here to this box up here where it says Insert Chart. Now when I get this, once again, it's a bar graph, and the reason for this is that these groups are not connected. They're all independent students researching the same thing. So I've got group 1, group 2, looks pretty good. This is the relative hardness. Okay, so let's go and modify this real fast. I'm going to hit Customize the chart. So this is the relative, this one, the chart title here would be, this is my second graph. So this is going to be figure 2, and I'll let you finish that. And then I'm going to put the legend on the bottom once again. I like the legend on the bottom. And you can see what's going on. And finally, my horizontal axis, I don't really need one, but my vertical axis, I need one over here. And what do I need to say? This is the relative okay. All right, so that's pretty much it. And I'll hit Insert, and there's my cool graph. And now to change the size, once again, I can do different things. I can click there and stretch this out. If I want to change this, I can do different things. I can make this nicer. I can click here and, whoops, come on, buddy. I can hit Fit to Area. You can do change the grid lines if you'd like, and this is changing how many points you have, or like I said, you can always right click, edit left vertical, and do that. You can say max and min. Okay, once again, this thing, I like the auto format the best just because it's straightforward, but if you want to know what these numbers are, you just click here at the top, oops, click here, and then we're going to click here, and then on this little grid up here, and we can say how many you want. If you put a whole bunch, that means there's 10 points here, and you can even set what the top number is. Let's say you want this top number to be 3.0. you can do that, and it comes out like that if you'd like. And you can go 3.5 or whatever. You see how it works. All right. So that's our second graph. Now our third graph that we need to do, I'm going to click over here and I'm going to add a sheet. And okay, of course I'm having a problem. I'm going to take this data from this first part of the experiment, and I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to go to sheet 3 and I'm going to paste it over here. Now the issue with this is that I want to make a scatter plot, and what a scatter plot is I'm just going to break up this data and make it all separate. So this data right here I'm going to cut, and I'm going to paste it down here, and I'm going to cut this one and paste it down here. Now this is a really weird way of doing something, but what I want to do is I want the data points to be separate, and actually I need to add one more set. So let me add another column here. Insert one row below. Oops. One row, insert one row above. And then I'm going to click here and I'm going to hit insert one row above. So I've got you see that here's my data and there's a space. Here's my data for the Wilton, and then there's a space. Okay, this point right here is going to be the average. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to add another column. I'm going to right click, insert one column to the left, and I'm going to do this between each one. Okay, so this is going to be the Sheldon average, and this is going to be the Wilton average, and this is going to be the home average. All right. So this point right here, I need the average of all of these. I can just go back here and get it from the first data, which was 10, and I can remember that. So this is 10.0, and this data I could say equals, or I could go back to the first file. I could say equals average, parentheses, and I just get this and I say done. And then the last one, I could say equals, parentheses, and I take this data point right here. All right, now once again, these numbers are really big, so I can click over here and say how many decimals do I want. I like it to just to go to the tenths for this case. I know this is not the correct number of significant figures, but that's okay. So I got 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. Now what is the average of these three numbers? And I'm going to say equals average, parentheses, of these three numbers. It's 1.2. If I want to change these numbers, I can make this, if I want my points to be separated a little bit more, I can change them up. This could be 1.4. And then this could be 1.6 or whatever. What you'll notice is that this number is always adjusting to that number. All right, so now what we have is the next set of data. So this is going to be along the bottom around the area of 1. And then I'm going to I need a space here. So I'm going to say this is 2.1. Or let's just go with what I was going, 2.2, 2.4, and 2.6. And then this is the average. And the average of these three numbers right here is 2.6, or it's 2.4, sorry. And so that means 2.4 is assigned to this Wilton average. And now I'm going to do the average of this. I need these numbers to be separated again. So I'm going to say 3.2, 3.4, and 3.6. And the average of that is 3.4. All right, so what I'm making here is a scatter plot for all the data. So these points are the averages, and these points are my data from from my experiment. So now I'm going to highlight this stuff, and I'm going to click over here, and I'm going to say Insert Chart, and it's going to say what type of chart. So I'm going to hit More, and I'm going to hit Scatter. I'm going to click that guy right there, and I've got that. So what you'll see is here is my Sheldon water, and there's my average. And here is my Wilton water, and there's my average. Here's my home water, and there's my average. Kind of cool. All right, so I can hit Customize if I'd like, and Legend on the bottom. Okay, how do I do this? I have a couple options. If I hit Legend on the bottom, this is what it'll look like, but you'll notice it doesn't all fit. And so you can change the font of the legend on the bottom so that they all fit. Or you can just leave them on the right. It may look better. All right, so chart title. This is my third graph, and this one is actually extra credit. So I'm going to hit figure 3, and I'm going to say da 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 da. And this is a description of this graph. And now I go down to the bottom, the horizontal x-axis. I don't want a title, so I'm just going to delete it. I don't want anything at the bottom there. And then for my vertical, my left vertical, that's this one. And this would be the same as my first graph, figure 1. So this is drops of EDTA. Okay. The other option is always to write EDTA, parentheses, drops as the unit, but I don't know. I kind of like drops of EDTA. All right, so that's that. And I'm going to hit, if I want grid lines or anything else there, I can. Now I hit Insert. Now, actually, before I do something over here, you'll see that these numbers are down at the bottom, and I don't really need those. I'm just going to hit Insert. Oops. Oh, shoot. I don't know what just happened. File. Redo. Oh, boy. This is not what you want. All right, that's where I am. I had some issues. I'm going to start again. I'm going to take this data. I'm going to graph it. I'm going to hit More, Scatter Plot, click there, Customize. I just showed you how to customize it. Okay, and then I'm just going to hit Insert. There's my graph. Now at this point right here, I don't want these numbers to show up. So the color, I'm just going to make them as white. All right, so this is showing my entire thing. If I need to go back here, I can always hit figure 1 or figure 3. This is a sentence, and that's pretty much it. So once again, to take this graph, and what this really means is that this is a graph showing all of my data, and there's my average. So it shows me, so how I would talk about this is I would say these data points are very close together, so they're more consistent, while these are not all that close together. And neither are these. So there's different groups are getting different results, or I was getting different results, however you want to say it. So that's that. Once again, to paste this into your document, click over here. Oops. You can click there and you can hit copy chart and paste it into your other file. So I hope that was helpful. And stop.